Give everyone about 5 minutes. Arranging my order there. I don't know why I did that. Probably doesn't. These freeze-dried candies are really good. I got them at Five Below, where I got my Dolly shirt. I mean, it's a really long time, by the way. While we wait. This is the smallest violin in the world. Oh, it doesn't work anymore. No, no. I'll have to let Lauren know I need a new violin. That stinks. I've had this for a couple years. It was a birthday. It was a Christmas gift. I'm so sad. It was working like 6 months ago. Probably the last time I used it. We'll probably go on Sunday for a little while. Um, Hold on a second. Right back. That wasted a minute. Screen's dirty. That's not good. Oh, that happened. Other than just, life. Biddy in seconds. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hello, all my little biddies. How are you today? I'm good. I got some sleep last night, so that's nice. Um, Last 2 nights I've been waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, can't get back to sleep. So that's always fun. And then I get brain fog from it. Last night I took a Benadryl, so I probably still have brain fog today because I always get hungover when I do that. But at least I got a full night's sleep last night, which is always good. I've had problems sleeping since I got out of college, so it's not anything new for me to have a few nights in a row where I just don't sleep well. Um, I guess we'll just get into it today. Um, don't have any announcements. Oh, yes, I do have an announcement. I will probably be on Sunday because my husband is going out of town back to Kalamazoo again. Um, so probably in the afternoon. I don't feel like waking up and my hair is all goofy. I don't feel like waking up in the morning and getting on here. I'm gonna be lazy in the morning. Nothing like a lazy Sunday morning. Okay, well, let's get into it. Our first read is from the subreddit I Don't Work Here Lady entitled, No, I Won't Arrange Your Furniture Delivery or Book Your Hotel Room. When I was 13, on occasion we would get wrong number phone calls from people trying to reach a certain department store to arrange delivery of large items. We'd say they had the wrong number and that was the end of the end of the call, but one woman argued with me and absolutely insisted I was a store employee and that I needed to get her sofa to her. She would not be convinced otherwise. I hung up and she didn't call again. Years later, when I was a young adult, we'd get calls expecting us to be the nearby hotel. We'd tell them they had the wrong number. There were a lot of these calls. We contacted the hotel and told them that they'd made a mistake and published our number in error somewhere. They insisted there was nothing they could do to fix this. The calls mysteriously stopped after my roommate started asking for credit card numbers. He didn't write them down and giving out bogus reservation numbers. It wasn't nice, but it worked. Oh, I guess that's one way to stop the wrong calls. Yeah, kids, back in the day, we didn't have automatic dialing. You had to dial the number yourself. Often you would get it out of a giant phone book that would have all of the numbers, your address, unless you asked them to not publish it or not publish your phone number at all. And it cost money to do that. You had to pay it's- I want to say it was every month with your phone bill to not have your number published in the public phone book. Um, Not really sure. I think you could probably still call the operator and ask them for your phone number if you really wanted it, but I'm not positive about that. They might not have. Um, when my husband and I were in college, my now husband, not obviously boyfriend then, were in college. Um, he had he moved into an apartment with three other guys, um, and their phone number was one digit off of the Social Security Administration local office phone number. So you want to talk about trying to convince people that they have the wrong number when they're 80 years old. Luckily, it wasn't too bad, but people do make mistakes when you have to dial it by hand. One number off, you could get various different people and not who you wanted. Really, what was really fun was party lines. We had those when I was little. Um, when we moved back to Michigan from Arkansas, we had to be on a party line. It was only one other house, but they had teenagers at the time. And, teenagers, all then and now, always on the phone. Don't let your parents tell you that they were not always on the phone when they were kids because they were. Trust me. It was our only communication. We couldn't text. We had to drive everywhere. We couldn't like video chat or anything. So, yeah, always on the phone. Teenagers never change. It never changes. It's just different. It's the same, but different. Our next one is from What Should I Do? My husband has become an unrecognizable monster. This sounds interesting. She says she's mid 30s, together 20 years, adult children at home. He is unemployed and seems to have no plans ever to be employed again. So I'm the sole financial provider for the family. He is in poor health and probably has some cognitive impairment, but he's not physically disabled. Well, if he's not healthy. I love the man I married. He was funny and loving and lovable, and most importantly, he was my ride or die. He enjoyed doing small things just to make me happy. He used to be proud of being a provider and a family man who respected his wife, but he's become unrecognizable over the past 5 years. He does not contribute at all in money, time, or labor, and he's a dick about it. He never asked me how I feel about being the sole provider, financial provider, or whether I can afford to carry us both for the rest of our lives. Although he's not shy about asking me for money or to buy him things. He flies into an abusive rage at being asked to clean up after himself. He leaves dirty pans, dishes, utensils, and trash all over the kitchen for weeks. Yes, weeks at a time. His life is sleeping, spending hours online, eating, making messes, asking me for things, and complaining. Obviously, he hates himself and his life, but refuses to do anything to improve the situation. Instead, he seems determined to make those around him hate their lives as well. Misery does love company, doesn't it? My kids, who avoid him because of his volatility, makes them uncomfortable, and because they don't like the way he treats me, say I should ask him to leave. Problem is, he's unemployed. He has no money he can access now. He has no other family to take him in. I'm not even sure he can access his meager retirement now. And even if he could, he'd take a giant hit for early withdrawal, and it probably won't last the rest of his life. He has maybe one friend he could stay with, but not forever. I'm afraid if I ask him to leave, he'll be dead in 6 weeks, or he'll become a burden to our friends and to our kids in a few years. What should I do? I don't know. I don't know what his health situation is. That would be like pertinent to know. Um, hmm. Someone asked if he'd had a neurological workup. He might have early onset dementia, which does happen sometimes, even in your 50s. Um, I used to work at a um, rehab slash assisted living facility, and we did have one lady in her 50s that was had dementia so bad she had to be institutionalized there. Um, Her sister would still take her out. They'd go to um, concerts and stuff and movies. So she was still ambulatory, but she was living with a lot of very, very bad off elderly people. And it's hard. It was hard on her. It was hard on her family. It's hard with the early onset stuff, especially. It's hard anyway. It's hard even dementia's just difficult for everyone involved. Um, Answer to that one. I knew a guy who went from being the gregarious life of the party, laughing all the time, to a glowing and angry monster. He had a brain tumor that was only discovered after, in a fit of rage, he basically flung himself in a second story balcony. I don't think he even knew where he was when he did it. Wow. Somebody else said they had a widow with the same story, and her husband had a brain tumor. Brain injuries, brain tumors, they can mess with your personality. It's really wild. And dementia can too. Um, Although I think dementia more uh you lose your filters rather than actually changing your personality. Your filters get you lose your filters and um you say the things that you wouldn't have said if you had a filter again, that type of thing. Uh my friend went through this with schizophrenia. Usually schizophrenia starts in like your 20s, early 30s. So, brain surgeon said his brain tumor is not responsible for schizophrenia and the medication he take. Yeah, he had a brain tumor and schizophrenia. That's got to be wild. Um, Brain tumor survivor says it happened and really fast. Um, yeah. Normally, when I see changes in although if he has other health problems, it could just be depression. Depression will also change your brain chemistry changes and your personality changes. So there's a lot. The brain is very complicated, and we don't know a lot about it. Um, we don't even know how anesthesia works. We know that it works. obviously, because we use it all the time. We don't know how it works, which is wild. The next one is entitled Karens. Karen T. It's entitled Karen Teacher Said I Plagiarized, Just Mad at Me. There looks like there's an update first thing. It says, guys, I was so tired when I write this. I'm sorry. Yes, I know it's dessert. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. Well, this should be interesting. So I was in year when this happened. So year seven when this happened. The way they say year seven makes me think they're not in the US. And I know that year seven is a time when people are still maturing, and I understand how this may seem like I just didn't like the teacher who was making excuses, but trust me, it's not. We had a teacher swaps regularly at our school just like other schools, we were understaffed. This meant sometimes they would employ someone new, and that person would become our new teacher for a certain subject, based purely on the fact that their schedule allowed for this a bit better than another teacher. Understandable. I don't want to be rude or offend anyone, and this isn't to say people who have English as a second language can't teach, but this lady that we had, I'll call her Miss T, seemed like she just barely grasped it. Her spelling was off, her pronunciation was off, and pretty much everything was off. But because we didn't want to be rude, we just sort of excused it. All we had to do was complete our assignments to the best of our ability anyway. Yeah, sometimes, especially when you first meet someone that has English as a second language, they can be very hard to understand. Um, Even people with that are English speakers, like that have a different dialect, you can't understand them. It's kind of throws you off because they're speaking English. It's like, what are you trying to say? Can you slow down? As someone who excels in English, I love helping my classmates. I finish work early anyway, so it's easy for me to go around the class and help out. I had gone and done this, sat back down, and was just sort of chilling in my desk. This is when one of my classmates put his hand up to ask her a question. To provide some context, we had to do these questions in our book of choice, and one of them was to ask us to state what we thought it would happen in it. So he asked her what the back of the book was called, specifically the words. She straight up looks at him confused and starts talking about how it doesn't actually have a name and he can just say back of the book. I'm looking at her because surely as an English teacher she would know what this blurb was, what a blurb was. So yeah, but English is her second language, maybe she just didn't know. I politely turned to her and I sat about 2 tables away from her desk. It wasn't far. I tell her actually that's the blurb. Even though I knew this, I added a little, but that's just what I was taught at the end, so it didn't come off as rude. Hearing this, she looks at me like I've grown horns and proceeds to get quite frustrated, telling me it's incorrect and that she's the teacher. Yeah, that's kind of mean. To disprove what I said, she looks up something on Google with her computer connected to interactive whiteboard, gives the class a whole speech about how the back of the book have no real name, and she goes, "I'll show you." So she looks it up, and what comes up? Blurb. She was so embarrassed she just sat her ass down and didn't talk for the rest of it. This went on for what seemed like forever. Not only did she keep making mistakes, whether it be her spelling, pronunciation, or analytical skills, but she kept trying to correct me every chance she got. For example, we had a class reading, the word Venezuela comes up, and I pronounce it normally. She corrects me, saying that the way to say it is Venezuela. No, it's Venezuela. So we get to the end of the term and we have to make desserts for a class party. He probably put deserts in there accidentally, along with a poster explaining the recipe and method. I think I'm doing this from memory. Don't judge. LOL. I use the word flavorful. She said it isn't a word. I say it is. Basically, she's already pissed at me. Then the principal and the assistant principal walk in. Now, these guys had actually given me a scholarship. To get the scholarship, I had to take a test that included writing something based on a prompt with no chat GPT or electronics to help. And so they spent a little extra bit of time looking at my poster and dessert, which was a plate of brownies. So this little bitch walks up and says to them and looks straight at me and goes, "Unfortunately, we've had some issues with people plagiarizing stuff. Like, I don't think this is hers." Excuse me? So the P and AP look at me for a second, wait for her to go, and then tell me they know I wrote it and not to worry about it. That's great, but the gall. Geez. Yeah, don't act like that when you're a teacher. You're not infallible. No one is. We all make mistakes. Um, we all have those days. Um, yeah, my son had a teacher like that. She was not good. Even the other teacher said she was not a good teacher. We'll go on to traumatize them back. Catcall me. I'll make you wish you were never born. Ooh. Yeah, guys, don't catcall people. It's just unnecessary. Please don't do that. It's misogynist. And usually there's a theme going around, and I think it might be true. Men don't catcall women, they catcall girls. And that's not cool. Don't do that. If you unless well, just don't catcall. Just don't catcall. If there's one thing I know that is a self-care is care, full stop. My weekly self-care is a manicure and polish change, scheduled lovingly and regularly by my partner. Oh, what a good guy or girl. It doesn't say. 3 weeks ago was such an appointment, and I just walked out of the salon to my car when a poor excuse for a human male offered a "ooh, honey" in the most lecherous tone possible. I am 33. I have been ogled and catcalled since I was about 14. 14. Stop it. Stop doing that. This is nothing new. However, due to the real, however, yeah. However, whether due to the area I live in or the fact that it's 2025, this behavior has literally never been acceptable. I genuinely have not been catcalled to my memory for at least 18 years. So when I turned to look at the person who unknowingly began his own destruction, it was with a look of pure, unmitigated disgust. I said, "Is that how your mother raised you? You should be ashamed of yourself." He didn't expect me to talk back. He thought I would put my head down, ashamed of existing, and my new nail joy stolen when he had so recently been full and loud. Instead, he looked down, mumbled, and I apologize, like an ill behaved child caught with his hand in the cookie jar. The immediate regret was palpable, and I could practically smell it in the air. But no, I'm not done. I went on. Do you? Because it seems to me that had I not called you out, you'd be happy to sit there and gleefully chuckling. You know what you should do? Call the most important woman in her life and apologize to her for your behavior. In addition, go ahead and find the tree supplying your oxygen and apologize to it as well. F you. His windows were up before I shut my own door. I bet he rubbed his two brain cells together before he tried that again. Yeah, I like how she reacted to that. That's good, calling him out, asking him about his mom, who is one of the most im- hopefully one of the most important people in his life. I mean, there are people who have bad moms. It happens, self included. Um, but yeah, yeah. Stop it, guys. Stop it. You should be ashamed of yourself. AITA relationships. AITA subreddit has stopped doing relationship and, posts, so they started AITA relationships. AITA for leaving my husband, even though everyone, even my daughters, say I'm wrong. I, 42 female, have been married to my husband, 48 male, for 22 years. When I mar- we married when I was 20 because of his religion. They don't believe in long dating. Well, red flag right there. I need a red flag. Should I get a red flag? Let me know. Comment, let me know. I wasn't raised in it, but I converted for him. I gave up makeup, clothes he said were immodest, the music I loved, parties, even my closest friends. I also gave up college. Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. If your religion is that strict, you're in a cult. I wanted to be a nurse, but he told me it was a waste of money and that being around doctors would tempt me to cheat. Not everybody's a cheater, people. I thought he was just protecting our marriage, so I agreed. Everyone in our church adores him. He's a leader. People come to him for advice. always saying how lucky I am. Thank you, mucho croissant. I will get a red flag. Or you can pick one up on your way here. At home, it's different. We argue when I question him. He yells, tells me I'm crazy, and says the devil is using me. Sometimes I start to believe it. Years ago, I worried about a woman he was counseling. He said I was paranoid. During the pandemic, that same woman found me online and apologized for everything she did. See, he's accusing her of cheating, but he was the one cheating. Accusations for no reason are often projection. I asked what she meant, but she never explained, and I was too scared to push because I didn't want to cause a fight. Earlier this year, he had a health problem, and I used his phone to call his boss. I found texts with another woman. Shocker. Some messages were deleted, but they texted constantly selfies, daily updates, even meeting at times he told me he was volunteering at church. When I confronted him, he screamed, call me crazy, deleted her number in front of me, promised she was just a coworker. I wanted to believe it, but deep down I couldn't. And you shouldn't. Months passed and I kept living with this doubt eating me alive. I tried to trust him. I prayed, but I couldn't stop thinking about those messages. At the beginning of this month, I couldn't resist temptation anymore. I checked his phone again, and there it was, more messages with her. She even said she'd come to church and watch him preach. Oh, he's the preacher? Oh my. I confronted him again with the same story. He yelled, told me I was insane, and Satan was using me to destroy our family. No, that doesn't work. I finally left and went to my sister's, but now everyone says I'm wrong. Church friends, some family, even my daughters, 7 and 13, are on his side. My girls stayed with him, barely speak to me. People say I'm sinning and throwing my family away. I gave up everything for this man. Now I am alone. My daughters won't don't want me, and I have no proof he cheated. Sometimes I wonder if I'm really crazy and he's innocent. AITA. No, you are not crazy. You're not crazy. This guy is probably cheating. If he's not physically cheating, he's emotionally cheating, which is pretty much just as bad. Um, some like not the top one, but one person said, I feel like the cheating is the least of your worries. He kept you locked up like a caged bird. He's abusive, controlling, denied you freedom, and denied you an education. You don't mention anything about money or job, so I really hope you have these things. Please leave this AH or start working on an exit plan. Yeah, you should definitely start working on an exit plan. Like I said, this is a cult. This guy may be the leader of the cult, um, but he's isolated her and made it her dependent on him. And that happens a lot. Um, I say that as somebody who's not working and relies on their husband's income, but I have worked. Um, I don't work because we want to do some other things, and work was not conducive. Me working was not conducive to doing that. Um, I can basically do and go anywhere I want. Going tonight to see a play with my daughter. My husband may or may not come. He was having a bad day yesterday. Hopefully, his day's better today. But yeah, once a religion tells you how to dress, how to some of them tell you how to do your hair, um, that you can't have a job, even though all these trad wife influencers, that's a job. Influencer is a job. It's not a traditional job, but it is a job. Those people do work a lot. They work very hard, I think. Um, so yeah, that's restrictive to your life, especially not getting an education. You should always get an education. I am a college graduate. I did stay home with my kids when they were younger, and then I went back to work, and now I'm home again and doing this because this is way more fun. Um, our next one's from Am I Overreacting? Uh, AIO. My husband deleted all his social media apps right before his surgery. My husband was scheduled for a medical procedure at the hospital due to some recurring health issues. He's still young, but has been dealing with chronic kidney problems that needed more intensive treatment. A few days ago, his symptoms flared up badly, severe back pain, swelling. I convinced him he needed to go to the ER, so at 2 a.m. we were admitted. The doctors decided he needed a procedure under general anesthesia to place a temporary stent. Before they took him back, he had to give me his phone and other belongings to hold the surgery. While he was in the operating room, his phone kept getting notifications. I went to check if there were any from the doctors or important family updates. I realized he deleted Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook, all apps that were definitely there yesterday when we were showing each other funny videos while waiting in the ER. This seems strange because he's always been pretty active on social media, especially Instagram, where he posts gym updates and contacts with old friends. We've never been secretive about our phones or social media. I'm probably just stressed and overthinking because I'm terrified about his health, but the timing feels weird. Why would somebody delete their social media right before going under anesthesia? We did have some issues in the past before we were married. He had been messaging an ex girlfriend inappropriately. I forgave him and we worked it through. Maybe I'm just exhausted and paranoid from sitting in this hospital all night worrying about him. We have two small kids at home. There's nothing, and there's so much going on right now. I love him so much. I'm genuinely scared about what could happen during this procedure. Am I reading too much for this, or should I ask him once he's recovered? Be kind. I'm a mess of worry and sleeplessness right now. TIA. Um, I mean, it's definitely a red flag. People get weird about going under anesthesia sometimes, so it could be just that. And he could be like having the side chick. Uh, these stories always slip in and he already proved to me that he's not above cheating in the past. I'm sure it's different now, though. Use your brain. Yeah, the fact that he's already done it is a double red flag. Maybe I need two red flags. Um, somebody else answered that one. Oh no, somebody else quoted her and put a red flag on it. And they said, reminds me of what happened with my ex husband before we were married. He was engaging in inappropriate messaging. He apologized, deleted the apps, and swore it would never happen again. Then I caught him cheating the first time. He was so sorry. I bet he was sorry. Then it happened again and again while I was going through cancer treatment. Why is it that men cheat during cancer when their wives are going through cancer treatment? Can you just not be a supportive husband, a supportive spouse? What is up with that? And then I finally developed a spine. I realized he was a pathological lawyer and probably a sex/porn addict as well. I don't know. I think people over exaggerate that. And finally realized I deserve better than that. Hopefully, it's not that bad, but what sticks with me from that experience is something I wish someone had told me when I was younger. When people show you who you are, you should believe them. That's from Maya Angelou, by the way. She said that. One of my favorite authors. I love why I know why the cage bird sings. Awesome book. If you are into reading, you should read that one. It's like almost like a prose poem. It's very well written, very beautiful. Best of Redditor updates. Always fun. Oh, if you have not already, where's my cursor? Okay, fine. This. Okay. Um, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. I try to go live at least 4 times a week, usually at 10 in the morning. If I don't, if I go on another time, I will let you know. I may go on Sunday, like I said this week, because I'll have a little bit of time, probably in the afternoon on Sunday. All right, so back to our read. She erases from her wedding, so I'm erasing her from mine. So this was originally posted May 3rd, 2025. When my brother got married, his bride, my now sister in law, had very specific expectations. She wanted everyone in the family to wear their wedding colors, and we did. I mean, that's not unreasonable. People flew in from out of state, normal. Everyone made an effort to make her feel celebrated, as you should. The day before the wedding, she made some offhanded but clearly pointed remarks about how our side of the family never takes anything seriously, and she wasn't expect us to take this seriously either. Comments made their rounds and feelings were hurt before the wedding even began, but we still showed up, looked great, and participated. Fast forward to getting to the wedding photos and video. Not a single photo of our side of the family was posted. Not one. In the entire 3-minute highlight reel, no faces from our family except a 3-second clip of my parents with the bride and groom. The rest of us, like we never existed. I texted her cordially and asked if she could send me the pictures with just our siblings, since none had been posted. She responded that we never took those pictures. That's wild because I remember helping people adjust their corsages for them. She doubled down on gaslighting. I gave it 6 months and asked again. She suddenly had no idea what I was talking about. Fine. This is where the petty revenge comes in. I'm getting married in 8 days. I've been engaged for 6 months and planning this moment since she tried to erase us. Kind of weird using your wedding as a petty revenge, but okay. I hired a great photographer and videographer. What she doesn't know is that the videographer has a secret mission. What she doesn't know is that the videographer has a secret mission to make it look like she's getting all the attention. Track her, hover near her like she's the star of the show. She will feel so seen. And then, the final cut, she won't appear for even 1 second, just like she made sure we didn't. I didn't even invite her originally. Word must have gotten out because she cornered me at a family dinner and said, "Unfortunately, I have to work the day before and after your wedding, but I should still be able to make it." I was so stunned. I just said, "That's fine. The Airbnb is booked whether you're there or not." So now she's coming. Ugh. To cope, I spelled her name wrong on the wedding invite on purpose. That was my first move. Okay, that's just silly and childish. The video blackout will be my last. I'm not asking for advice. I'm not asking if it's too mean. It's not. It's exactly fair. Happy to finally talk about it freely. Um, yeah, that seems kind of childish to me. Update to the same post 9 days later. Edit update 512. The wedding was absolutely beautiful. I didn't have to think about this all day. We have been living on the love high that comes with your wedding, and I forgot about anything until YouTube remakes reminded me. Our videographer was given verbal instructions beforehand and made sure to know who sister in law was. As our sneak peek clips have been given back to us, I have yet to see her in any of the footage. Our videographer told us they had over 200 gigabytes of raw footage, so sister in law will definitely be in some footage on a hard drive somewhere, but she definitely will not end up in any of our Instagram highlights. We'll see about the final video. I definitely don't think this would blow up like it did originally. I only shared this with 3 girls in a book club. Thank you all for coming to this petty revenge journey with me. P.S. I have no idea how Reddit updates work for those who care. Trying to figure out if editing the OG post is the way. Um, I should put my final effort. Yeah. Should I put my final update in a new post? Let me know. I don't want to leave you all hanging on this. Um, so I guess that's it. I don't see another update. I should do this beforehand. Well, I don't read these beforehand, so why would I do that beforehand? Um, they have a lot of. That's not even them. What am I doing? There we go. Yeah, she doesn't have another update, so don't know how the sister-in-law reacted. That would be nice to know. But yeah, that person seems a little off personally. Don't ruin your own wedding by using it as a revenge for something somebody else did. Be an adult. Well, that one was deleted. Interesting. So I guess the last one today will be malicious compliance. The time my grandfather-in-law shut down a steel mill and got overtime rules changed. This story takes place in the 60s. Yay! 60s. Grandfather-in-law was a World War II vet and he was a POW in Italy and got out of the POW camp and rejoined his unit and then continued the war. So verified badass. He worked as a at the railroad. He worked the railroad at a steel mill. Worked the railroad at a steel mill, just locally moving cars and setting up trains, moving stuff from one plant to the other, that kind of thing. So it sounds like he was a yard worker at the company. The mill was on either side of a river with a rail bridge connecting them, and the main rails ran right through both sections of the mill. So when he came through a lot of, with a lot of cars would so when he came through with a lot of cars, it would temporarily close the roads in the mill. He would get a little overtime quite often just by the nature of the job, couple hours or so a week. When it's shift change time, but you're driving a train, you need to finish up before you can run the engine back to let your relief take over. So of course the mill decided to make a no overtime, no exceptions rule. It took him a couple of weeks to get it timed just right. At 3 p.m., his shift was over. He parked the engine right by the time clock, clocked out, and went home. He said there were almost 2 miles of cars hooked to the engine. Went through the section of the mill where he was at, across the river, and onto the other section of the mill. All the track was owned by the mill, so it didn't affect the actual railroad, just the mill. The mill bosses wanted to punish him. I forgot the details, but the union shut that right down. Nothing happened, and the rules changed the next day. Yeah, that was okay, I guess. But yeah, I mean, rules are rules. You have to follow them. Since I had to miss one, I have extras. Let's do this entitled Parents one. Um, this is from Entitled Parents. My father confiscated my first car when I was 16, attempted to confiscate my second car as well, even though I was an adult by then, and my mother supported him through all of it. Part one. Part one. Maybe we'll do part two on Sunday. It was fairly recently the anniversary of my mother's passing. This messed up situation happened decades ago. It's a long story to tell, so it has to be split into two posts. My unrepentant old man has been in the ground since 2020. I'll let you all guess why, but he was very mind kind of person. I'm guessing probably COVID. And my mother fit right in with him because she was very me, and extremely dramatic. Both were extremely narcissistic, entitled, borderline sadistic, even at times. That's really sad. Generally bitter when not getting their way on anything, big or small. Not really sure if I was unwanted or unplanned child, they never said, but I was their only child and became the primary target as I got older. Punishments were generally carried out by my mother at first. She had some twisted obsession with spanking that led me being this doesn't say if they're male or female, man or woman. Yeah, I don't know the gender of this person. Interesting. Punishments were generally carried out by my mother at first. She had some twisted obsession with spanking that to led me led to me being a meek child early on, till I got big and realized she wasn't so tough. But as I got older and bigger, I actually stopped reacting to the pain when she spanked me because I just got used to it. My friends even gave me a nickname, Hard Ass, which they still use to this day. When the spanking stopped working, my mother even checked for me for butt bruises. It actually started sobbing when I told her the belt did nothing to me anymore. Anyone I've told this to calls her ranging things from projecting sadistic to insane cocoa pants because she literally cried that she could no longer punish me by spanking anymore. Wow, she sounds literally insane. That is wild. The few people who defended her actions kept telling me it was a different time and that spanking was all some parents had. And he says BS to that. As for my father, he had a hair trigger temper and would easily fly into a rage in an instant, especially when accused about being wrong about something. He used to punch holes in the walls till one day he hit a stud and broke his hand. After that, he put up a punching bag in the garage to vent on, and he wore that damn thing out. He was quite financially controlling with me too, and always had to hide money that I earned from him. I always got pissed when he always got pissed when he couldn't find it. Despite the constant threats of harm from him and even sometimes actual harm, eventually I grew indifferent to his abuse too. Yeah, it sounds like OP just shut down. That's really sad. I just did the chores I was told to do and then whatever I could to make money, which I cleverly hid in multiple places just in case one of my money stashes was found. But somehow I hid them too well because my father didn't find any of them. I've been working practically since I was 10. I was big for my age and basically the spitty image of Bobby Hill till puberty hit. I managed to work mowing lawns, raking leaves, and other odd jobs until I got a real part time job at 15. Sounds like a go getter. Good for you. Aside from his narcissism and temper, my father was naturally built large and built looking like a man with a flat top haircut until he went bald, and also fancied himself a badass. Like to flex his doughy like I think he meant too. Like to flex his doughy muscles in front of a mirror to admire himself, kind of thought self-thought badass. Until he actually got his ass kicked anyway by some guy trained in martial arts as a that was a whole head shorter than him. Saw it happen from the window of our family car when I was a kid. I don't know what started the fight, but I know what ended it. A roundhouse kick to the face. My old man lost a tooth that day. After that, he seemed unintentionally. Oh, sorry. After that, he seemed to intentionally only pick on people weaker than him, like me as a kid, for example. He used to brag about being a Vietnam veteran, but he actually only served in the Coast Guard for his entirety of his military service. He was always careful not to say too much lest he be called out for faking his military records. I think they call that stolen valor now, but correct me if I'm wrong. No, that's what it's called. He sounds just like a braggart. When I first when I purchased my first car as a 16-year-old in 1991, my father took every opportunity to hold it over my head that the car was registered in his name because I was 16 and couldn't put it in my name until when I bought it. It was an 82 Chevy Cavalier. So, what, an 8-year-old car? That's pretty good for a 16-year-old to get an 8-year-old only a car that's only 8 years old. I wouldn't say I was in love with the car, but it was my first car. And I bought it off an old barn mechanic who was fixing and selling junk cars in the neighborhood. The guy liked challenges and should have owned his own shop. The Cavalier had been previously wrecked and sold at auction or something. Two of the doors and the passenger fender had been replaced with ones of a different color, and the center door frame had to be replaced with a new one welded in. There were many dents, stings, weld marks all over the passenger side. It was ugly and under salvage title, and it was gutless slow. I drove a car like that for a while. Um, Around 45 miles an hour, it would start to shimmy, but if you got up to like 60, it would stop. I just drove 60 everywhere. Don't tell my dad. But it ran pretty good and was less than 10 years old at the time when I bought it. I paid nearly everything I saved for that car. My parents also took my having a car as an open pass to force me to run their errands. They hated me asking them for gas money in return. They'd take the car away if I was defiant about anything and told me life wasn't fair, but that I'd remark the same for them because I couldn't run their errands without gas, so I guess I wasn't going. Then they'd begrudgingly hand me the keys back and give me some cash for gas. This happened numerous times. My mother also used me as a taxi service to drive around and some drive around, and some relatives and her best friend, who was also a crazy narcissistic woman. Thank God she didn't have any kids. She eventually died a homeless drug addict. Oh, that's sad. My parents also used me as a designated driver so they could go out drinking, and because they'd only come back when they felt like it, I'd be stuck waiting in the car with them for hours with nothing to do, sitting with a lantern reading books, Archie Digest comics, or doing my school homework. That is until one night a cop knocked on the window to ask why a 16-year-old was sitting in a bar parking lot past 10 p.m. And he was furious when I explained why. Once in a while, cops can be good. He asked me for the names of my parents and went into the bar. Before long, I heard the music suddenly stop, and then a few minutes later, the cop marched my parents out like a drill sergeant. They were pissed at me. But what was I to do? It was a cop. I had to tell the truth. They huffed and puffed, but from then on, they just had me return to pick them up at a designated time. And they were always stuck to it for fear of having a repeat situation with the police again. Cops are one of the only things my parents feared, but even that fear didn't stop them at times. I had my first car lesson 6 months when my father took it away. His rusty patchwork El Camino died on him for the last time, and he junked it. Since my car was already in his name, he just took it. And he made sure to tell me to my face like a schoolyard bully there was nothing I could do about it. My mother was of no help and only agreed with him. She was his biggest enabler and said that parents must always have cars first, even if the kids bought them. That's BS. I remember this happening in the days before the internet, let alone social media. The most I could do was talk about it to relatives living nearby and to people at school, mainly to my friends and the guidance counselor. But nothing really came of it because my father refused to give the car back when confronted. There was no way to prove the car was supposed to be mine anyway. Everything was paid for in cash and the car was legally registered to his name. I never got the money back I paid for it either. Well, of course not, because they don't care about you. Um, but legally, you can get a bill of sale in your name, even if you're not old enough to have the car registered in your name, and that would hold up in a court of law. Just so you know, always get it. Always get receipts. Receipts are important, and also tell your friends that you paid for the car, because when you say something to somebody in the moment, and the word I want to use is escaping me right now because brain fog. Um, Contemporaneous, that's what it is. Contemporaneous evidence. When you tell someone something, when it happens, contemporaneously to when it happens, um, that is evidence. That is evidence. They can go and they can, even in court, they can go and, um, sorry, I just got a notification. They can go to court and testify on your behalf. And because you did it contemporaneously, even if you would just write something down, keep notes on everything. If you're having an issue, keep notes, keep notes, keep notes. Um, because those hold up in court. That's a contemporaneous evidence. Um, so yeah, you can do that. Um, After my father took the car, he repainted the Cavalier black. I wouldn't call the paint he used an improvement, but he did fix some of the remaining body damage kind of okay. My father acted like the car had never been mine and was overly proud of the work he did to it. He made me sit through repeated speeches about the meticulous work he did on the car while he was piss drunk. If by meticulous he meant just repainting it with lots of crappy spray paint, you could get it for less than $1 back then, I'm sure. I never gave up on getting the car back. It sounds like he just went and got the can spray painted the car. The coffee is getting better. Um, I gave up on ever getting that car back, and I didn't bother to drive another car until I was 18. I got practice now and then with my mom's old car when she forced me to run errands and drive people. Her car was an old 1960s Vista Cruiser, but I missed my Cavalier. When my father opened it openly rubbed it in that it was his car. Even dangled the keys in front of my face while mocking me a few times. These parents just sound awful. I hope this is not true. I hope this didn't really happen. Though my mother usually enabled him, she actually told him to stop acting like a child the final time he did it, and he sulked while blaring his record player. You know, it's old when you're blaring a record player. I spent the next year and a half plotting my escape and working my ass off and saving every penny. By the time I was 18 and had finished high school, I gathered up my rebuilt savings once again and went back to that barn mechanic. By then we'd become friends since I regularly went to see him in my spare time to watch him work. Well, he should have been teaching you how to do the car stuff, dude. He sold me a beige 79 Chevy Caprice uh, he sold me a beige 79 Chevy Caprice estate wagon with the fake wood paneling on the sides and a tow hitch on the back. That's awesome. He dropped a different engine pulled from another junk car after its original one gave up the ghost. But it ran good, and my mechanic friend somehow actually got the AC system working. I had I just had to pay to have it recharged at a shop. The car was just what I needed. I bought the car in a heartbeat with the deal he offered. I think this guy was doing this kid favors. He knew his home life was bad, and he was doing him favors. It's a good guy. It was practically a steal, and I walked away with more than half the money I came there with. So right after, I went and opened up my own checking account at a bank. Good for you. That mechanic knew how badly I needed a car to plan my eventual escape, so he set the Caprice wagon aside for me since it was roomy and you could camp out in the back of it. See, this guy knows what's going on. I was more than happy with the car. It was so good on MPG, but it could go anywhere I needed. It wasn't so good on MPG, but it could go anywhere I needed to, and junkyard parts were plentiful. Yes, I got plenty of Griswold jokes. All the same, I didn't tell my parents about the car. I didn't dare bring the car home yet till I got the new title in the mail so I could hide it. Unfortunately, my mother got the new title from the mailbox before me and opened it without my permission. I had to yank it from her hands when she confronted me. Yeah, well, that's a crime. When I took the title away from her, she screamed for me to give it back and then said, I just want wait until your father gets home. That sounds like a threat. When I refused to hand it over, I ran off and didn't come back till night. When I entered the house, my father grabbed and slammed me against the wall. He was mad that not only bought the car without him knowing, but also that I didn't register it in his name. Even though I was 18, he still expected to have legal ownership of my vehicle. He said he and my mother outright demanded I sign over the Caprice as punishment for my disobedience. Disobedience because he went and bought himself a car? Yeah, no. But I refused and said it was mine. My father looked like he was ready to hit me until I laughed and showed him to just do it. He threw me to the floor and told me to go to my room without dinner. Oh no. No one's going to starve for missing a meal. Oh, he tried for days to get me to cough up the title so he could sign the car over to himself because he couldn't stand not being in control. But I hid it at a friend's house. Even under repeated threats of physical harm, I didn't give it to him. Good for you. Good. After about a week, he told me to get the hell out of his house since I was 18 and wanted to be independent so badly. And I did. I wanted to stay a little longer to save money, but I didn't care anymore. I packed what I could out onto the front lawn and then went and got my car. My father took the time to inspect the Caprice as I was loading it and scrutinized that it was too good for a disrespectful brat like me, even though it was far from new. He pointed out that the car would be much better suit my mother since her Vista Cruiser was similar but much older. And said I should trade with her. I just laughed and said that wasn't happening, especially since the Caprice had working AC. He was infuriated to hear that and started demanding even harder that I make the trade. Yeah, this guy's just egging him on. He was practically foaming at the mouth while yelling that they deserved the Caprice since it was so much better. I told him my answer would still be the same no matter what he said, which was a big fat no. He stomped back into the house to stand with his arms crossed glaring at me from the living room window. He'd have made people explode with that glare if he could. My mother took a jab at me next. She tried to convince me that signing over the car to my father would be a smarter move, both insurance costs and because I could remain at home. I told her I'd never be fool enough to put a car of mine in my father's name again because they'd just take it away like he did the Cavalier. It was obvious he'd take it away from immediately for themselves once if he got the chance. My mother tried to say that wouldn't happen. Oh, you know that's going to happen. But I told her I couldn't trust a word she said. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her to be truthful because there is literally no other reason for her and my father to want the car in his name so badly, other than to take it away from themselves. She gave up the act and started loudly sobbing. Actually said, "Why can't you just obey us? We raised you." Yeah, you raised him to be an independent person. I said something like, "Because I'm an adult and I deserve to have my own life and not your slave." She started wailing incoherently and soon went back in the house. I saw my old man cradling her from the window while glaring at me like I was evil incarnate. I finished packing and motored out of there before he did something crazy, and I never set foot in my parents' house ever again. Sometimes that's what you do, especially with parents like abusive parents like this. My bar mechanic friend was exactly right to offer me that car because I've lived in it for around 3 months. I just put some recycled couch cushions in the back to sleep on and whenever else I could fit in the car while keeping the bulk of the stuff at my best friend's house and having my mail directed there too. I stopped parking at my friend's house after a while because my insane father regularly patrolled the neighborhood on weekends in the Cavalier looking for me. He confronted me out there once, so I started living in my car parked at work and biked most places to save money on gas. Eventually, my father went off the deep end and nearly ran me over. Holy cow. He spotted me on my bike heading to my friend's house and I rode away when he tried to force me to stop and talk to him. He chased me down in the Cavalier while wearing sunglasses looking like a freaking Terminator. But I got away from my friend's house in time. He didn't dare go further because my friend's dad was real ex-military, open carried everywhere, and was close to friends with a cop. He took BS from no one. So my father figured if he couldn't catch me in the neighborhood, he'd come looking for me at work. I changed jobs to working at a local dump without telling him before he kicked me out. But he still managed to find me. He ended up having a huge argument with my manager because I refused to come out and see him. My father only left after he was told the police would be called if he didn't take a hike. After that, I started carrying around a metal bat when walking or riding just about anywhere. I'm pretty sure my father was trying to force me to come back home because I did all the yard work and I was no longer there to drive errands or be their designated driver when they went out drinking anymore. My father could not mentally fathom a world where he wasn't in control of me or my thought things. People like him feel they have nothing if they can't force their will on others, especially their children. And I got a front row seat to how that loss of control slowly destroyed him mentally over the next 20 years. By the time he died, he was a shell of his former self. Was still a complete narcissist, though. After months of living in my car, my boss offered to sell me an old rotten camp trailer for bottom dollar since I had a tow hitch. It was really rough, but I bought it anyway and made working on it a group project with help from my friends. At least he has good friends. I was trying to save every penny I could then, so all of the wood we used was recycled materials from the dump I worked at. About the only things I had to buy were tubes of caulk, screws, electrical tape, taillights, and a roof sealant. The dump literally had everything else. People even threw out good tools a lot, and you'd be surprised how many pairs of sneakers I got from there. The stuff people threw away. I kind of miss working there. Sadly, they won't let employees take stuff like home. Sadly, they won't let employees take stuff like that home anymore. My friends and I spent a couple of weeks or so fixing up the trailer. I got it registered, and once finished, I could tow it around wherever I wanted. I debated leaving the state, but I was afraid to start over somewhere else, and I missed my friends if I left. So I stuck around and kept the trailer at work until I managed to convince my reluctant uncle to let me move it onto his backyard with it. The guy was very antisocial and a bit paranoid, conspiracy nut, and extremely anal landlord that I didn't like loud noises. Oh my goodness. Let's try this. I don't know why. Sometimes the candy works. I certainly had to keep noise at a minimum. I was happy to have a good place to live, and it was far cheaper than renting an apartment. Of course, there was trouble in paradise, always is. Gilligan messes up something. My parents somehow figured out I'd moved to my uncle's property after a while. Still don't know who told them. My uncle certainly didn't. He hated my parents more than me. And the few times I saw my parents around, they called me ungrateful brat for not giving them my car. They were also somehow angry I had the camp trailer too. I guess my old man wanted one someday or something. But I was using it to live in, not for recreation. Did Either way, what my parents did next nearly got them arrested. So that's the end of part one. So I think what we're gonna do is on Sunday, I'm gonna finish this one when I go out on Sunday, or I'll go. I'm guessing Tuesday. It might be Monday, but my guess would be Tuesday the way things are going right now. So I will be back probably on Sunday, definitely by Tuesday. It's a really long one. The second part's just as long, if not longer. It's wild. So I will see you all my little biddies. Have a good weekend. I'll be on Sunday, and you can always catch up. These are always posted on YouTube if you need to catch up later. Thanks, everybody. Love you all. Take care. I know you'll see me later, Mucho.